Silver is in the middle of a historic rally.
Silver reached an all-time high of $53 in October 25.
So silver just crushed everything this year.
Silver is leading the way in the precious metals, and it's going to continue to do so.
2026 has begun on a strong note for the precious metals.
Someone is manipulating the silver market.
Silver was down by 15%.
White metal has fallen as much as 10.7% after earlier spiking.
There is something happening in the silver market the mainstream media is barely covering.
But who and what exactly? And more importantly, why silver? Silver is called a precious metal.
Silver is used in everything. Solar panels and electric cars and data centers, military electronics, satellites, everything.
But unlike gold or platinum, it never got treated like royalty. It never enjoyed the same hype, respect, or price. But the question is, does silver really deserve this price point, or was it always undervalued? What happened behind the scenes that manipulated the silver market?
One of the biggest theories is that for the last few decades, their prices have been suppressed and controlled to be as cheap as possible.
Who benefits from silver staying cheap? In today's video, we'll uncover the mystery behind silver's demand and pricing, why is it so cheap compared to gold, and why silver might be more important than most people realize. This isn't just a story about a metal. This is a story about power, manipulation, and a market most people do not fully understand. Between 2008 and 2016, this bank, one of the world's biggest banks, by the way, did something that was close to daylight robbery, and they didn't do it just once or twice. They did it consistently, again and again over a span of 8 years. People were kept in the dark about it until the case was taken over by the authorities and fined this bank with a $920 million fine. So here's what happened. In 2008, silver was trading well at a decent price. This bank sent a sell order for a huge amount of shares. This means they're going to sell later in the day at a particular time and leaked this information. People thought if this bank executed the order, the price was going to go down. So they panicked and started selling their shares before the bank executed the order to protect themselves from loss. The price dropped because everyone was selling, but at the last moment, this bank cancelled the order and bought more shares instead at a much cheaper price. So the bank scared the crowd on purpose, pushed the price down, and then profited from it. This practice is called spoofing. What is the spoofing? Can you please tell us a little more about that?
So it's what we called as circular trading. I mean, it's like, various people create an illusion that the stock or a commodity or a bond is being traded at this price, but whereas it is nothing but it is going in circles.
It's illegal, and in simple terms, it's called manipulation. So when the regulators took up the case legally, they found that this practice wasn't rare. In fact, it happened more often and more regularly than what you and I can even think of. In fact, just a few days back, on Feb 5th, 2026, 6 groups of accounts were restricted for a similar activity by the Shanghai Futures Exchange. But here's the real question. If silver is such a small, unimportant metal, why would global banks risk their reputation and millions to manipulate it? And why silver? Why not copper, steel, or other commodities? That's where the real mystery begins. Let's imagine this. There are only 10 iPhones left in India, and 1 crore people want to buy one. What do you think happens to the price? It explodes. As we know that scarcity plus demand is equal to higher price. But then look at silver. Even in the past, when silver still had limited supply, it never saw a booming demand, and it neither reflected on its price. Even today, silver enjoyed a brief rally till it again crashed by over 45% from its all-time high. Then what's causing these price fluctuations? What's playing out in the background? On paper, it looks like silver is not of much use and doesn't have an intrinsic value like that of gold. But in reality, that may not be the case, and here's why. Silver is the best electrical conductor we have. It's essential in solar panels, electric vehicles, medical equipment, smartphones, high-performance electronics.
Silver is also a very big component of high tech because, if you buy a very high-end smartphone or a high-end car, the chances are that, electrical contacts will have silver because, as I mentioned, it has got a very superior electrical conductivity. So it is not just green tech, it is high tech also. And there is visibility of demand, but there is no visibility of supply.
In fact, In 2025, nearly 60% of entire silver demand came from industries like electronics, automobile, health, and defense, and now even AI. So silver is not just a metal anymore, it is the backbone of the industrial infrastructure. There's another layer people rarely talk about. That is silver's hidden use in military and aerospace. Like in satellites, missiles, fighter jets, defense systems, space technology. So basically, any industry, any technology where failure is not allowed, silver is the most trusted ingredient. Moreover, in 2025, the US officially declared silver a critical mineral tied to national security. So that explains why part of silver's demand is invisible on purpose. Now ask yourself, if silver is critical for industry, energy, defense, space, technology, why is it priced like an ordinary metal? Because infrastructure cannot be expensive. If silver suddenly doubled in price, electronics get costlier, EVs get expensive, solar power gets expensive, tech prices explode. So we now have a metal that is essential, in high demand, but not allowed to become expensive. So what happens when something must stay cheap? Its price gets controlled. But how exactly? So silver has two markets. One, real silver, where it's a physical metal like coins, bars, industrial silver. This silver is mined, transported, and can be used by the end consumer. Two, paper silver. This silver does not physically exist. These are more like paper contracts, a promise to deliver silver later. People trade these contracts without owning even a gram of real silver. This is the futures market. And originally it was meant to manage risk, but today this paper market is what decides the global price of silver. That means the price of silver is set by people who may never actually touch real silver. And that is how these multinational banks manipulated its price and profited out of people's loss. Paper markets set prices without using real silver. Industries need silver cheap. Banks profit from volatility. This isn't chaos, it's a system. But here's the problem. Reality can't be controlled. For 5 years straight, silver supply has been in deficit. We use 95 to 117 million ounces more per year than we produce, and 70% of silver comes as a byproduct of mining other metals, meaning we can't easily increase supply, even if we want to.
The deficit started way back in 2019 and 20, but the prices did not move for the next 2-3 years. If the deficit continues and sustain, obviously the price has to readjust because it is a scarce commodity, right? So people are willing to pay a higher price for it to obtain it.
And this deficit is only going to increase in the future, making matters worse, causing a surge in the invisible industrial demand. Governments, militaries, industries, green energy, AI, and everyday people all are competing for the same shrinking silver supply. What do you think will happen then? The price won't rise slowly. It could jump violently, causing more price fluctuations in the future. Then what should a normal person do?
I think silver ETFs stand out for the simple reason of liquidity, because it's very volatile for liquidity, and for, if you want to do an SIP in silver ETF, a fund of funds provide an excellent way to access this market. It's regulated and physically backed product. So I think ETFs stand out in silver.
If someone wants to invest in silver, they should ask, why am I buying this?
Silver is a hedge against climate. 2023, 24, 25. These have been the hottest years on record in terms of global surface air temperature. And the surface air temperature leads to higher consumption of energy for cooling, keeping the heat out. So one of the ways to hedge against that is to have some silver in your portfolio. Why? Because the more the temperature of the world rises, the more the world will be forced to invest into renewables like solar, like EV, and both are very large consumers of silver.
What advice do you have to give for people who would like to invest in silver?
If you are planning to invest in silver, it has to be in combination of gold. What we have seen historically, that conservative investors tend to have something like a 70-30 allocation, in which precious metal holding in their portfolio, they have 70% to 80% gold and 20 to 30% silver. Extremely conservative will have 90-10. Again, you need to do some work. You need to find out how much gold you need to have in your portfolio, and then silver comes next to it. If you do it this way, then obviously it ensures lower volatility of your commodity holdings. And secondly, either of the two themes play out, whether it is high debt or whether high climate, you will have at least one of them providing you the cushion that you need in your portfolio.
How do I avoid hype and manipulation?
You need to have a very long-term horizon. I would say 5 to 7 years. Why 5 to 7 years is because most countries have said that they will become carbon neutral by 2050. So we have 25 more years to go for the entire renewable story to, sort of play out. If you're taking a 1 year or a 2 year view, the chances of getting it wrong are very high.
So, silver's price is set by a market that doesn't need physical silver. But as its industrial demand keeps rising, its supply keeps shrinking, creating more opportunities for the price to be manipulated. And one day the world may realize why silver was always important. But then, its value may be racing to be at par with that of gold and platinum. If you enjoyed what we talked about in this video, then you must subscribe to InCred Money for more such information.